Hey. So before we get started with the video, I just want to ask you a question. Whose creator code are you using in the item shop? No one's? Man, well, I have a deal for you, all right? If you just want to go over to the item shop, right? Go right on over to the item shop, press Support-A-Creator down in the bottom right, and then type in my code, myfii. Go ahead and just press accept. That green check mark will pop up, and in the top right, you'll see my creator code, and it'll get you a total of 0% off all of your purchases. But it'll help me out, and I got kids to feed. All right, not really, but for real, if you guys want to use my creator code, you can. It will greatly support me, and I do really appreciate it. My videos have ever helped you guys out, or if you're just trying to help a brother out, you can use my creator code. Like I said, myfii. And that will support me. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get right into the video. All right, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm gonna be going over 5 Fortnite tips I wish I had known sooner. I've seen a few other YouTubers make this type of video, and I thought that I would give my own 2 cents on the subject, on things that I wish I had known sooner. But before we actually get started with the video, I just want to go and say that if you guys are new around here, make sure you do go ahead and subscribe. We are so close to 7,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you guys enough for all the support. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Pretty much what I post on the channel is Fortnite tips, tricks, tutorials, how to get better, leaks, glitches, everything Fortnite related. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure you do go ahead and subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss out on one of my videos. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into these 5 tips or 5 things that I wish I had known sooner. So starting us off with tip number 1. Tip number 1 is going to be never jump above the location that you want to land. So if the battle bus is going over, for example, tilted, and you plan on landing tilted, don't jump when the battle bus is right over tilted. Always make sure you're jumping before, and I feel like that is a given, but I feel like that the biggest tip here is to, for example, put the Fortnite map, say the Fortnite map was completely flat, right? And say there is a line 10 feet above the ground, and that is the line at which once you hit that, jumping from the battle bus, you are going to be forced to deploy your glider. All right, because I know we've all been in that situation where we're flying into the location we're going to want to land, and we always see someone lower than us, and we never can understand why. Well, this is why. It's because in Fortnite there is a point of which you are required, or the game forces you to pull your glider. There is kind of like an invisible line which says, hey, you're going to deploy your glider here. I don't care what you say. Now, how that line works, and I know a lot of people don't know about this, is that, so say, like I was saying, Fortnite is just a flat piece of grass, and the line is, 10 feet above that, and that's the line that you're required to pull your glider, right? Now say you add a hill, right? And the hill is 5 feet. So now that line above that 5 feet hill is gonna go up by 5 feet. So now instead of being 10 feet above the ground, you're now gonna have to pull your glider 15 feet. So it adds that extra 10 feet. So now no matter what is beneath you, it's always going to be 10 feet above it. And like I said, this is just an example. I know it is much higher than that, but pretty much don't ever try to dive straight down above a mountain. Always try to dive straight down above the flattest surface you can possibly see. I know if you are landing on the outskirts of the map, always dive above where the map actually, where the death barrier kind of is. So always like glide over the ocean and dive straight down. So you're always going to get the lowest landing point possible. You're always going to be one of the first to land, and being one of the first to land means that you're going to get loot first. You're going to be ready to get into those gunfights first, and you're overall just going to have a better landing experience. I would say where people struggle the most is off landing. I know a lot of people try to blame landing and the beginning of games on RNG or just straight luck, because like, oh, well, I didn't get this or I didn't get that. Well, it's like, well, if you get your landing down and you kind of learn where to land at certain POIs and how to actually like jump out of the battle bus to get there first and get loot first and just be ready before everyone else, and you will always have a much better time with the start of games, and where most people I feel like struggle the most. Now getting on to tip number 2 that I wish I had known earlier. This is going to be to pretty much learn how to weapon swap and kind of have your inventory laid out the perfect way. So this is kind of like a 2-in-1 tip, and there is, I believe, another 2-in-1 tip in here as well, but these kind of just go hand in hand, so I thought that I would talk about both of them. Pretty much how I would say you would want your inventory to be laid out is to have an AR in your first slot, and this is assuming that you're going from left to right, an AR in your first slot, a shotgun in your second slot, an SMG or a minigun in your third slot, and then a heal item or multiple heal items, and then in the farthest right slot, you're gonna want, if you have it, some sort of sniper, deagle, or something that hits really hard, like an RPG or just something like that. So always make sure that that's kind of how your loadout is. And the reason I say this is because, so say you have your shotgun, right, which is in your second slot from the left. So you go AR and then shotgun, and then next to that is your SMG. Learn how to weapon swap, because a lot of people, and I know you all have all seen this, a lot of people will, shoot with their shotgun, wait for their shotgun to kind of pump back, or if it's a combat, you have to wait for it to shoot again. A lot of people just wait for that, and then they could die because someone else hits them from the side, or the first person that they were originally fighting just hits them, just one taps them and they're done. Or say you hit them, and this is where it really comes into play, say you hit them with your shotgun for say 70 damage, and say they have 200 health. So now they have 130 damage left, but you have a pump shotgun and they've just hit you for a ton of damage. Don't wait for that shotgun to be ready again. Immediately switch out, and this is if you are on controller, because the majority of these are going to be controller tips. You're on controller, you're gonna press one of your bumpers and immediately switch to one of the guns next to your shotgun. That either being your AR or your SMG. Once you switch to that, it's right next to that, so you don't have to worry about switching multiple times. You're immediately gonna switch to that and then finish them up, pretty much clean them up with an AR or an SMG, because it's gonna be able to fire immediately, and you're gonna get a lot of shots off and a lot of damage dealt while their shotgun is still pumping back, or they are waiting for their combat to reshoot again. And all in all, it just ends up being in your favor. I can't tell you just pretty much how dumb I was for not getting my loadout in order, and then also learning how to weapon swap between my shotgun and then a fully automatic weapon. So yeah, that is the second tip. Like I said, kind of a 2-in-1 tip. Make sure your loadout is in order, and make sure that you learn, or that you instinctively, as soon as you shoot your shotgun shot, if you don't instantly kill them, then immediately switch to an automatic weapon, AR or submachine gun, or I don't know why, but miniguns have kind of became the meta nowadays, so minigun as well. So now getting on to tip number 3. Tip number 3 is going to be to stop 50-50ing gunfights. Pretty much what this means is that stop giving up high ground, stop jumping down because they're weak. And what this means is that, say you and someone else are in a gunfight, right? And you guys are in a build battle and you have the upper hand, and say they're running up to try to retake high ground, you hit them for 150. You know that they have 50 health or less, and they start jumping down. You know that they're gonna start jumping down and start healing. Now, at this point, what 99% of players do is that they immediately start trying to put pressure on them, which is a good thing. You're always gonna wanna put pressure on them, but don't give up high ground to put pressure on them. Pretty much what I'm talking about is that we've all been in that situation where someone is weak, right? We get the upper hand advantage, we get high ground, we then proceed to jump down and chase them, and they start turtling, and then we end up dying by them. It's super frustrating, and a lot of people deal with it. And then that's when they start getting mad at the game because they can't understand, hey, I had the upper hand advantage, they were weak, and somehow they still ended up killing me. Well, the fault in this situation is on you because you jumped down to 50-50 the gunfight. Whenever I stopped going for 50-50 gunfights where it could either go their way or my way, it's 50-50. There's a 50-50 chance that I will win, and that is not a good chance, especially when, if you just kept the high ground, then the odds would have stayed in your favor. It would have been a 95-5 fight, 95% you're gonna win. There's a miracle 5% chance that they would have won if you kept the high ground, because the majority of the time what happens is that no one's gonna be carrying around like something to get them all the way up to max health. And normally what happens once you hit someone for that much damage and they're forced to turtle up, they lose a lot of confidence, and then they start kind of having like these mind games played in their head. They don't know what to do, they get confused, they turtle up, and then once they're done turtling up and they actually come out, you're still, looking right at them, you're tracking them, you know where they were turtling, but you're not jumping down and gonna 50-50 that gunfight. Now there are some situations where you can get away with it, but like I said, you will win a whole lot more gunfights. You will not get as upset at the game if you just stop 50-50 in gunfights. Just stop doing it. It just makes no sense. You're just better off just keeping the high ground and just waiting for them to come out or waiting for someone else to come in third party. Also, one of the biggest problems with 50-50 in gunfights is a lot of times you are going to get third partied. And once you start getting shot at from the side, then that person that was turtling up actually ends up editing out and killing you, which is just a really frustrating moment. So yeah, just don't 50-50 a gunfight. Just always keep the high ground and you'll be good to go. Now getting on to tip number 4. Tip number 4 is going to be to land and immediately start pushing people off spawn. This kind of ties back into tip number 1, which is landing first and landing early. Kind of get your landing down. So always, you know, if you're going to land somewhere, make sure your landing is down. And once you immediately get a weapon, immediately start pushing people. So say you land, you get a gun, you get a few minis, immediately start pushing people. The reason why is because this will rack up a lot of kills early game. I will go ahead and say that 90% of the kills I get are early game. So I'll land, and if I land in Tilt, which is actually where I have been landing a lot lately, Tilted Town is a great place to do this at. You land, you get a gun, you immediately start pushing people. What this does is that no one else has really any loot. Say someone lands, they can't find a gun, that's an easy kill. Someone lands, they don't have any shields, they got a really crappy gun, that's an easy kill. Now sometimes you're gonna land and you're gonna get crappy guns. Don't immediately start pushing people if you land and get a hunting rifle, or you land and get a sniper. Look around for a submachine gun, an AR, or some sort of shotgun, and then you start pushing people. But like I said, a majority of my kills come from me landing, getting a good gun, because I never go for a chest. So say there's a white submachine gun, then there's a chest. I will never go for the chest because you're 50-50ing a chance, which just kind of ties into the last tip. Just don't 50-50 anything in this game because there's too much RNG that goes into it. Don't ever go for the chest. Make sure you're always going for the gun. Once I get that gun, then I start pushing that person at that chest, because more than likely by the time I have the gun and they've held to open the chest, you know, that they've held the button to actually open the chest, and then they actually collect the stuff, and then they have to go through their inventory to actually select the gun to try to fight back, they're dead by then. So just always push people off spawn. A lot of times they're not going to have shields, they're not going to have good guns, they're not going to have any mats to build against. They're going to be easy kills. And if you're landing and you are that apex predator and you know you are pushing them and you're putting the pressure on them, they're just simply just going to give up. They're like, you know what, whatever, I just started this game, you can just have that free easy kill. So a lot of times they'll end up just giving you the kill. So it is what it is. Now getting on to the last one, and this is something that I really did wish I had learned in the beginning, because I just actually recently started doing this. I think I started really doing it in season 7, and since then I feel like my skill from season 2 whenever I started playing to season 6 was all right, and then it kind of really exploded and I got really good, or at least not really good, but a lot better than what I used to be in season 7. And since then I feel like I've learned more and I became a better player throughout these 3 seasons than I did the entire first like 6. And that is warming up and practicing. I go into creative every single day before I start playing, at least for 10 minutes, and I'll just, you know, warm up my fingers, warm up my builds, warm up my shots. I have a ton of editing courses that I do, and I'm actually tempted to actually make a video on it. Let me know if you guys want to see what editing courses I actually use and how I actually do warm up with these courses. I know I have made a few videos before on how to make like your self-made courses for editing, but pretty much I practice and I warm up. How I warm up is that I go and like I said, I go into these editing courses, these shooting courses, these accuracy courses, and I pretty much just get everything warmed up so I'm ready to go. And then how I actually practice is that I will either go into a team rumble and I will kind of warm up playing against other players before I actually go into a full-on game. And also, if you guys just want to know anything a little extra, playing solos is a really good way to actually get better at the game as well. I wish I would have known that, so that's kind of like a little bonus tip. Playing solos, it's just you, so you really have to learn how to fight other people just one-on-one. So yeah, with that out of the way, hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Let me know if there are any tips that you guys have that I didn't mention in this video. Let me know in the comment section below. And with that out of the way, I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.